Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis, and today we're going to be talking about Hedera Hashgraph, and also we're going to be addressing the overall market structure that we are in for the entire alt season that we are basically ranging to have. So with that being said, let's refresh everything. So we are up about 2.01% on the total global market cap, sitting at about $2.31 trillion. Very interesting to see as we do range even higher on Bitcoin, breaking above the 50.6K zone. And also, we do see Ethereum making its waves to almost 4K again. We also see altcoins like XRP ranging on its strong support zones. Now, we have seen some interesting things happen with HBAR, and I've told you guys to keep a close eye out on HBAR as we do range into the later days of September. I was not going to lie to you guys or, pretty much, draw you guys the wrong way, but I was telling you guys about Hedera Hashgraph and how close we are to a major breaking point. And we got that yesterday. We actually had some clear validation points. Now, it did take roughly about 172 days to actually get above this breaking point after breaking down here. Now, we still haven't had a strong breakout point, so we are still in 173 days total of consolidation, and this is only the beginning of what's to come. So currently right now, we broke above the 30-cent zone. We are actually ranging here. We hit some resistance. If you guys actually look here, this is some strong resistance even back to April. And, this is pretty much the zone that we were at when we really broke out. This candle here is that major breaking point. So right now, what we are trading in is a chop zone. Obviously, we will probably hold the 30-cent zone. The 30-cent zone is pretty much here. This is pretty much 30 cents, but it's in between here and about 32.5 cents where we are basically trading in. So until, and we actually have a new X because we broke that one, the next zone is just breaking above resistance, which would be right there. So if we look back, this resistance point is nothing new. We've seen it here on May 6th. We eventually broke out of it, going to almost the all-time high on the 13th of May. We also hit this same resistance point April. We hit it even back in the beginning of April as well. And this is pretty much a strong resistance point that I think until we really break out, that's where we will see the major moves. But we have moved significantly, and we are back in a nice, we can actually just make a new rectangle here as well. So overall, this is a very strong demand zone, just similar to the one that I have down here. I said as long as we break and hold in this, it's good to go. And look at exactly what ended up happening. We pretty much launched to this zone that we are in now. So I'm expecting some sideways trading, just a little bit of chop trading for the most part until we get the major move on Bitcoin next. Now, overall, this is a very good demand. This is before us actually dropping. So this should be, this calls for a little bit of celebrations overall. This is actually very good for us. Now, what is the next move? Realistically, once we break out of this nice resistance line, we do have some more resistance at about 33.5 almost. Now, I think that we'll clear this fairly easily. And the reason why I say that is because I think that we'll have, an impulse like this where we actually kind of range just to go to the all-time high. So currently right now, I'm just targeting the all-time high from here. I'm not really looking for anything special. Maybe some resistance points being broken here and there, whatever. But for the most part, the next point would be all-time high up here. And I do think that we'll get there probably by the middle to the end of September. That's where I'm pretty much watching. And I told you guys, as long as we hold the 200-day MA, which we have, that's where we will basically see that nice impulse up. So I was looking to see if this would be broken down here at about 23 cents. It didn't get broken. I said this specifically even in the Discord. I said, as long as this level doesn't get broken, we are looking good for a breakout. Thankfully, we didn't break that point. We actually bounced off of it a few times, retested it. It was solid. We pretty much bounced and regained traction and held the 200-day MA, which told me that we were in an uptrend, and with that we were ready to actually have this nice impulse up. So we are looking very solid on HBAR. Now, in regards to the overall market structure that will get us to the next pinnacle, first off, if you guys aren't watching the HBAR Bitcoin chart, you guys should definitely be watching it, because I think that this is what told us that we would get to that next major breaking point, and I do think that we will. Now, in regards to this, I actually have some consolidation patterns here. For an example, this actually took us about from this candle here. Well, we could actually go off of the second candle here. This actually took us about 113 days of consolidation before breaking out. So this was almost about 2 times what this one took. This was actually 57 days from the second candle. And we do see that this is actually kind of lengthening, as we do see down here. Now, overall, I think that this is great to see on the Bitcoin pair, because we actually broke out opposed to Bitcoin. And I think that this is also good to see that we are actually above a nice overall resistance zone going back to the beginning of July. So with that being said, the next, pretty much the overall target point for this would just be the all-time high on the Bitcoin chart, which is going all the way back to roughly, I think this is the 13th of May, yeah. So this is pretty much the 13th of May. This is when we actually went to break out on HBAR before Bitcoin pretty much drew us down. So overall, things look very good in regards to the Bitcoin chart as well. We're pretty much going into this nice strong pattern before we regained all 3 MAs, which exactly told me, hey, again, we will have a breaking point very soon. Now, in regards to Bitcoin, I'm also watching Bitcoin very closely as we range above this resistance point that we pretty much couldn't get over. Now, obviously, we'll pretty much top out maybe at about 51K unless we could actually break this point here. So I'm watching for us to break over the September 3rd high and range to 52K. So right now, the next target point for Bitcoin would be breaking above that 52K zone. I'm watching for us to break down below the 49.3K. As you guys can see, we actually held that the last 2 days, including today. So I'm actually watching for one of these targets being broken here. We pretty much don't need to retest the 200-day MA, but we could. That's still on that 46K zone. It's not a crazy possibility or anything like that. I'm still watching very closely though, as we are above the demand zone, which is shown here on the green rectangle. Now again, I'm just waiting for a validation point here. This will also bring our HBAR, pretty much back up as well. Let's actually go look realistically. So if we can get a breakout on Bitcoin, and say for so we break above 52K and we target somewhere, between 56 and 58K, which I think is a good next pinpoint target for us, because even here at about 57K almost, that is a nice resistance point where we'll most likely top out at. But we even see that even going back to April, about 55.5K is also a nice support resistance zone as well, and also 56K too. So realistically speaking, if we could get that nice breakout point, HBAR will most likely go to about 38 cents roughly. And if we could break that, which is a nice resistance zone, it's actually about 37.5 cents overall. But if we could actually break that, I think that the next target, which would be the all-time high, would basically be targeted very easily. Now, Bitcoin dominance has been retesting my zone, so this is actually a new line that I drew here, but it's actually a solid support zone that we ranged on a little bit. Now, I'm personally waiting for us to actually break below this zone here, which is my support zone from a while back actually now. But if we could actually break below this and hold below it, I think that pretty much tells us that we could retest 39.66% and maybe drop even further down. Again, I think this is going to take a little bit of time as well. I think that this will range between the middle to the end of September as well. Now, Ethereum dominance has been showing some signs of weakness. It couldn't top out at that 20.52%, so we'll most likely trade sideways while trading on some support chop. So the overall support zone here would most likely be a retest of this zone at about 19.7%. Totally fine. Not too crazy realistically about the Ethereum dominance, but Ethereum itself has been making its moves in the market as well with Bitcoin. It's actually been outperforming Bitcoin overall. If we do see here, 21% on the 7-day span, Bitcoin up almost 4%. which is very good to see. It's also very happy for us to see that, most altcoins have been breaking out opposed to Bitcoin. For an example, Solana is still doing incredible moves. But this is actually very good for us overall for the overall global. Well, if we're talking about the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, this is for our altcoins, right? Altcoins are 10%, actually less than 10% away from making its new all-time highs, which is telling me, right, that we are pretty much ranging to go back to those highs that we're making back in even April into May. And if that is the case, we could pretty much have a nice validation point for a major breaking point by the end of September, just like I predicted. Now, in regards to that, I'm also watching October and November, as those are key months, even going back to 2017 and 2018, even for this chart, because realistically speaking, when we topped out back in 2017 and 2018, let me zoom in a little bit. So, November and October were, pretty much sideways trading. We see that nice collapse in September, which is, pretty much everybody's, concern right now. Are we going to pretty much do the same thing? I think that that's where a lot of people are kind of bearish right now. But we do see that allowed us to pretty much consolidate sideways realistically for a lot of altcoins before finally breaking out in November. This is pretty much November highs. This was a high printed back in 2017 in November, on November 12th. Now, as we got to the end, that's where the next major moves were happening. This is all of December basically here. Now, do I think that we are going to pretty much play into the same nice movement? Most likely. I think that we are still following the 4-year cycle. I think that we're following the November, December, January highs. January is where Ethereum and most altcoins like XRP even topped out at, which I do think that would be interesting to see even for HBAR. Now, in regards to what we are doing right now, I think that we could pretty much get a nice little move all the way to the all-time high again. Most likely trade sideways between this $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion zone, and then that's where our next major breaking point will be. But I'm also watching the dollar, as the dollar is collapsing a little bit, and when I say collapsing, I mean it's just kind of losing its momentum. But it did regain some support here at about 92. So I'm watching that. Now tomorrow, as you guys already know, is Monday, so the markets do open. So the indices could either help us or it could go against us tomorrow. So I'm watching this tomorrow very closely. I'm also watching the dollar, but for the most part, things look incredible for crypto and also for HBAR, because I do think that HBAR is more than ready for the next major breaking point. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, it's only 30 cents, so who even cares? Realistically speaking, if you bought the dip like I told you to back in June, pretty much look at what you would be at, right? So even at current prices, you'd be up 135%. At the price that we printed just today alone, you'd be at 140%. And at the all-time high, which I do think that we get to very soon, you'd be up almost 240%. That is exactly why you buy all the dips, especially for something like HBAR. I am now done purchasing HBAR. I most likely will not be buying anymore. I am basically above all my buys, even going back to my 30-cent buys, which I told you guys that I was still buying at 30 cents, even going back to here, and also even pretty much back to not May, but it was pretty much around the beginning of May to the end of April. So I do have buys that I had at around 30 cents, but for the most part, a lot of those buys were the dip and also even before this major breakout point. So I'm still looking good. Overall, HBAR looks extremely well, extremely healthy as well. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on. If you guys don't want my free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. I hope that you all have a beautiful day or a beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.